Culture Vibe. Today, we're going to talk with Cher McArthur. She is from Humming Bee HR Consulting Company on this episode of Behind the Book. Let's jump in. Welcome to Behind the Book, where I am your guide, Heather Andrews, unraveling the captivating stories from behind the pages. Join me as I sit down with authors from the literary landscape to delve into challenges, inspirations, and untold tales that breathe life into their written worlds. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Book. Today, I have Cher McArthur of Humming Bee with me, and we're going to talk about all things culture. It's a big topic.
It's a huge topic.
It's a very big topic.
How did I keep that in one chapter?
I know. That's episode 3 of your series.
Right.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit, Cher, about how you got to be in HR and...
Ooh. That's going back a long ways. Years ago, I was managing a team, and there were things on the HR side that were messed up. They had somebody that was an admin person doing HR, and I thought, this is a strategic role. So started taking courses and moved in that direction and out of that PR space that I'd started in PR and marketing. So that's a long time ago now.
A long time ago.
Yeah,
well, you don't look
but I
as
found my passion.
Excellent. And what is your passion?
It's really helping people
Okay.
and making the workplace a better place to be, where leaders feel like they're getting what they need and the people that are working there don't hate coming into work. It feels good when there's a shift that happens in an organization and everyone, they're in the right space.
Right.
We spend a lot of time at work, so
Yes, we do.
loving what we do makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Well, it impacts so many, your home life, your work life, your personal life, like all of it, right?
Everything.
Everything. So how did you move from your corporate career into your consulting company, Humming Bee?
I got the gift of a layoff or a termination I don't know what it was, but it was, we don't need you to work here anymore. And I didn't really want to work there anymore. And I thought, what do I want to do next? And I got a call from a girlfriend who said, do you want to pick up this consulting work? Because you'd be a perfect match for this company. And the rest is history. And brought on my first person, an ex-lawyer that writes policy, and she's still working with me 4-ish years later. That was about 6 months in, or maybe a year in, and so
Yeah.
We're in year 5 now, and expanded. Now we've got a recruiting team, policy writer, generalists, HRIS implementation, and she's the data analyst person, and then my side of things, which is mostly the strategy and leadership consulting. And when things get ugly, that's when I usually get involved.
Beautiful. I love that. And how did you come to name your company Humming Bee?
Ooh, I love hummingbirds and I love bees. And there was a story in my master's program that one of my instructors told us about a little hummingbird, and all the woodland creatures were gathered around, and there was a forest fire, and they were all wondering what the heck they're going to do to stop this forest fire. And the hummingbird went over and picked up little droplets of water in its beak and was dropping it on the fire. And they went, "What are you doing?" And he said, "All that I can." And that's kind of stuck with me, because I can't fix it all, but I'll do all that I can.
I love that. That's excellent. And then moving forward with your story, that brought you into the Culture Revolution book and writing a chapter. So how did you get involved in that?
I found an old bucket list it predates the movie The Bucket List.
Yeah.
And it was from before I had that job 20-something years ago, before I started HR. And one of the things on there was get published.
Oh.
Write a book, get published. That was on there. And a lot of the things I'd knocked off that list: buy a house, become a mom, travel to this place, do some things. Some of the things on there were stupid, and I'm glad I haven't done them, but sing with a band, though I did that. Glad I did that one. There were a lot of things on there that it was yes, 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 and then some that, why was that even on the list? And then this be a published author was on there, and that's been a thing since I was in elementary school. So when Adam contacted me and said, hey, I bet you've got a story, I thought, okay, if this and this and this happens, I'll do it. And exactly what I thought, if everything lined up perfectly so that I had to do it. I couldn't chicken out anymore.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Me too.
Yeah. And when you were starting to move through the stages of your chapter, what was sort of the initial story that you wanted to tell versus where it landed up? Ooh, I know. We've talked much about this, but
there were so many things about when I walk into a new client's environment, and some of them are just so warm, so welcoming. You get that feeling, and I started off really thinking that that's what I wanted to focus on, is how to get there, but there's so much involved in that. Mm-hmm. And although that's a piece of it, there are some really easy things to just not do. How about just don't do this? And so that's what I tried to focus a little bit more on, is if you do nothing else, just avoid doing these things, and then you will avoid some lawsuits, and you'll avoid ostracizing certain members of your team, and you'll get more productivity and. So they're just a few smaller things. I had to make it a lot shorter, more concise than what I was inclined to do, but really just how about be nice and recognize that you're going to screw up and own it, but a little more meat to it than that.
So as you've gone through your years of experience in this industry, what would you say has been the biggest shift in culture from, over the years? That's a loaded question. It's good. The shift that's happened has been great, in that people who are in marginalized groups have a voice, and they're being appreciated, they're being seen, and women are being paid close to what men are being paid for doing the exact same job. There's more work flexibility. A lot has changed, and I think as much as people like to talk about the good old days, a lot has changed for the better, and I wouldn't want to go back. For sure, absolutely. And when you talk about your chapter, and when you talk about the just don't do's, what would sort of your top 2 things be of just don't do?
One is that there's one that's huge, and it's don't reward bad behavior. And I don't care if that's in your personal life, professional life, where that is, you don't reward bad behavior. And it's amazing how often leaders in organizations will reward bad behavior because they're conflict averse. And as Canadians, we don't really love conflict. Right. But being good at conflict is a superpower. It takes courage. It's something that people can build. It's a skill. But if you ultimately don't want to build that skill set, find somebody else to lead your people, because you need to have the real conversations. And if you're not having the real conversations, that person who's not doing the thing they ought to be doing is getting away with doing a whole lot of nothing, and you've got other people who are having to pick up where they're dropping. And it becomes an inequitable environment for staff. And it's the worst thing for demotivating. It absolutely kills people when they come into the workplace and so-and-so's not there again, or they've messed something up or whatever, and they're caught holding the bag for something somebody else didn't do. And it's not being addressed. Right. Yeah, and that happens in a lot of environments. All the time. Yeah. And then you get the leader who says, well, I don't know how to deal with this, and well, let's work on that, and let's figure out how to deal with it so that this person knows what's going on. And a lot of times they just want to fire the person. Right now, fire them. Well, have you talked to them? Have you given them an opportunity to improve the situation? The answer is no. Let's start there. Right. Yeah. I remember when I went to my very first conflict resolution course when I was in management and healthcare, and the lady that taught it said, well, you're ahead of the one another 9 people that
don't, because it was like 1 in 3 people have conflict or something like that. And it was some statistic, and she said, and she goes, and 1 in such and such don't know how to deal with conflict. But the fact that you're sitting here in this room makes you an expert because you're already here. I'm thinking, well, I don't think I'm an expert, but I know that I don't like not knowing how to have those hard conversations.
Yeah.
And I think that it was one of the best things that the course that I ever took. And then I took like level 2 and level 3. And it has been instrumental in dealing with my business.
It's huge.
To have those conversations and know how to separate feeling from fact and open-ended questions to really figure out where that person is at. So, you know, it was huge.
That's the second piece, is really getting curious. Instead of making assumptions and thinking you understand what's going on with other people, is just get curious. You're not going to know everything that's going on for everyone else, and as soon as we start to assume, and we do it all the time, it's faster. We just, oh, that person seems like somebody else. Oh, they're this type, or they won't be interested in that opportunity, or they're not going to be able to handle that, or whatever the thing is, and we make assumptions based on that.
And you know, thank you for sharing all of that, because it's going to lead into some great conversation here on the next episode. But I wanted to just kind of figure out you open up your chapter with Culture is a Vibe, and that's the name of this episode. So I just want to, as we wrap up quickly, Culture is a Vibe, and just kind of enlighten us on a little bit of that.
Yeah, you have to live culture. It's not something that you can just teach a class on culture and everything's going to be fine. It's a million little tiny things that equal culture. Like if you look at the culture of Canada, you look at the culture of your family, you look at the culture of an organization, an environment, it's built on a million tiny things. And breaking it down to 1 or 2 things is impossible. Walking in, you can feel it though, and you get that sense of if this machine is working like a well-oiled, well-geared piece of equipment, or it's right off the tracks. And it's like you can tell.
I love that. Thank you. And as we wrap up our episode, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me and my team at www.hummingbee.ca.
Excellent. Thank you. And we'll be right back with our next episode on Don't Be an Asshole, as we talk about Culture is a Vibe. It's been a literary voyage here on Behind the Book. My sincerest thanks to our featured authors for letting us peek behind the curtain. I'm Heather Andrews, urging you to keep exploring the vast universe of literature. Until our next chapter, happy reading.